You're not imagining it. People are staring at you more than ever, and it's tied to the February 1st snow full moon. That sentence might sound dramatic, but stay with me. This particular full moon is acting like a magnifying glass, and for the next few days you may notice more lingering looks, more double takes, or strangers whose attention seems to pause on you for a beat longer than usual. I'm going to explain why that happens in two complementary ways, one psychological, one energetic, and then walk you through simple, practical steps to stay grounded, protect your presence, and let this phase help you evolve instead of exhausting you. Before we go further, tell me in the comments, have you felt watched recently? Where did it happen? There are two parallel stories running at once, and understanding both will keep you steady. First, the psychological. Humans are wired to look for anchors when the collective atmosphere changes. Think of an aquarium full of fish. If the water gets choppy, each fish glances toward others to figure out what's safe. We do that socially. When uncertainty in a group rises, people's brains switch into a scanning mode. They search faces, posture, and small cues for someone who appears calm, coherent, or simply different from the baseline noise. That scan is unconscious. It's not malicious, and it doesn't mean those people have decided anything about you. It's their nervous system trying to locate stability. In practical scenes, this looks familiar. You're at the grocery store with a cart full of ordinary things, and someone pauses in the pasta aisle and keeps looking at you. Or you pass another person on a snow-dusted sidewalk and they hold their step, just a fraction longer, as if memorizing the way you move. At work, a colleague who usually scrolls through email suddenly leans in when you speak. Online, your profile gets a view you didn't expect. These are everyday moments. Psychologically, they're explained by attentional biases, social referencing, and the way mirror systems in our brains heighten toward anything that feels like an emotional cue when a larger context feels tense. Now, the second, spiritual layer. The snowful moon functions as an amplifier. By amplifier, I mean it heightens certain qualities that are already present. Sensitivity, visibility, receptivity, rather than guaranteeing a particular outcome. Especially in the days leading up to February 1st, the energy around the moon builds. This pre-full moon anticipation often has a louder effect than the precise moment of the full moon because people, like weather systems, respond to pressure and build up. Imagine thunder rolling before lightning. The air changes, and every person in that atmosphere notices the shift. Subjectively, many people report their presence feeling brighter during this window. That's a way of describing what might be happening outwardly. Your composed center, your clarity, even your quiet acceptance becomes a soft beacon. Others read that and respond. Some reactions are warm, curiosity, admiration, an eased expression. Some are more complex, discomfort, envy, or a sudden sadness as someone senses a change they can't name. Importantly, when I say energy or aura, think of it as a social signal. For some viewers, that signal will feel literally energetic. For others, it's a useful metaphor for how people perceive and react to subtle shifts in posture, voice tone, or confidence. Both interpretations can live together without claiming that the moon is a puppet master. Here's the twist most people miss. The build-up matters more than the boom. The days before the full moon are when the intensification is steady and consistent. During that window, you may feel more visible even when you don't do anything different. This is not about trying to make people look at you, and it's certainly not about manipulating anyone. It's about noticing that your natural state is being amplified, and that amplification can make you a reference point, someone else's mirror, an emotional thermometer, a hinge. Some will be drawn to your steadiness. Others will be unsettled because the change you're manifesting suggests something they may need to change too. That visibility is double-edged, because amplification often arrives hand in hand with openness. When your presence brightens, your boundaries can become more porous. You may pick up on other people's feelings faster. A brief interaction that would normally slide off now lingers with you and colors your mood for hours. Crowds feel louder. Small talk can feel invasive. You might find yourself absorbing the fatigue of the person next to you in line or laughing when you don't know why. These are signs your sensitivity is up, not that something's wrong with you. So how do you tell the difference between being an anchor and being an emotional sponge? Notice where your energy goes after interactions. If you leave a conversation feeling lighter, enhanced, or affirmed, you've been an anchor in a healthy way. If you leave feeling depleted, shaky, or confused about your own needs, that's absorption. One is giving from a steady center. The other is leakage. This phase favors gently pulling energy inward rather than pouring it outward indiscriminately. That distinction matters because openness is not the same as exposure. Being accessible does not mean you must be available to everyone at all times. Now picture a few micro scenes to ground this. You're in a neighborhood coffee shop. A stranger behind you pauses in line, looks at you, and then moves to the opposite side. They don't seem hostile, just struck by something they can't explain. At the office, a peer who used to interrupt you now listens longer when you speak, as if your point lands differently than before. A friend who you always counted on for weekly plans starts to cancel more often. Sometimes people bow out because your forward motion is signaling a new path they don't share. These are not all good or bad. They are reconfiguration. People reorganize themselves around what they can recognize and what they can't. In many cases, a subtle farewell comes before an explicit conversation. You feel the tilt first. Understanding that helps you respond without drama. This is a recalibration phase more than a call to action. The most powerful response is presence. Notice, tend to your nervous system, and choose. Don't force change by confronting every stare or by demanding someone explain their behavior. Instead, practice discernment. Where do you want to be more available, and where do you need to limit exposure? Boundaries aren't walls. They're selective openings that keep your core intact. Let's move into practical steps that are both immediate and sustainable. These are not rituals you must perform to control attention. They are hygiene practices that respect your nervous system and your social environment. First, breathing and body-centered grounding. When you feel noticed in a way that unsettles you, take a slow 5-count inhale through the nose, hold for 2 counts, and exhale for 7. That lengthened exhale nudges your autonomic nervous system toward calm. Pair that with a micro-body check. Press your feet into the ground for a few moments and feel the sensation of support under each foot. Name 3 things you can feel physically: the texture of your coat, the weight of your bag, the temperature of the air. Doing this 3-step anchor, breath, feet, sensory details, pulls attention back into your body where your center is, reducing leakage. Second, develop short, compassionate boundary phrases you can use in public or in conversation. These are not confrontational, they're clear and loving. Examples: you might say softly to yourself or out loud, "I need a little space." "Not right now, thank you," or "I'm stepping away to recharge." Practicing these lines ahead of time makes them easy to use when the moment arrives. When someone lingers in a way that feels invasive, a small physical step back combined with a calm phrase is often enough to reset the field. Third, manage overstimulation through micro-rests. If crowds or back-to-back social interactions leave you raw, schedule tiny pauses: 3 minutes in your car with the engine off, a short walk without your phone, or a sit in a quiet corner with your eyes closed. Even 30 seconds of focused breathing can make a measurable difference in your ability to return to the interaction on your own terms. Fourth, digital boundaries. The February full moon can increase online attention too. If your follower count, messages, or profile views spike, and that brings pressure, set limits. Decide in advance how much time you'll spend responding, mute notifications during your best hours, and create a simple autoresponder that says you received the message and will reply when able. This maintains your integrity without having to explain yourself constantly. Remember, visibility doesn't obligate you to be constantly available. Fifth, energy hygiene for interaction-heavy days. Before you step out, run a quick check-in. How hungry are you? How tired? What do you need to show up steady? If you're low on sleep or running on empty, plan more buffer time or stay selectively private. Small things like a nourishing snack, a hydration bottle, or a weighted scarf can stabilize you physically so your energetic center doesn't wobble. Sixth, cultivate a short journaling habit tied to this phase. Each night for a week around the full moon, write down 3 moments when you noticed attention shifting toward you and how it felt. Over time, a pattern will emerge. You may see specific places, people, or moods that activate you. That data helps you plan where to be visible and where to conserve. Seventh, remember the language of consent applies to energy too. You can offer warmth and still say no. You can be visible and still be guarded. That paradox is important. Your presence can be soft and protective at the same time. We also need to talk about the social reactions you might encounter and how best to interpret them. Some looks will be admiring or curious, as if someone has glimpsed a different way of being and wants to understand. Some will be uncomfortable or reflective, like someone who is seeing a version of you that points to what they are avoiding. Others will seem indifferent or even annoyed, which usually says more about their day than about you. The only ones you need to pay attention to are the ones that affect your balance. If a glance causes a cascade of emotions in you that persists after they leave, tend to your nervous system first, and then, if necessary, address the moment. There will be times when you notice that certain people begin to drift away without explanation. That's one of the slipperier dynamics of this period. As you become more aligned with yourself, certain relationships naturally fall out of sync because they were based on an earlier version of you. This doesn't always mean the relationship is bad. Sometimes it's simply not oriented for your next chapter. Think of it like reorganizing furniture in a room. Some pieces fit the new layout and some don't. You don't have to cast anyone out. Often what's needed is clarity, more presence with the people who are willing to grow with you and gentle distance from those who are not. Here's an important distinction. Recalibration is usually quiet. You won't necessarily get dramatic confrontations. Instead, you might find invitations unanswered, plans shifted, or conversations that used to feel easy now feel awkward. That is the quiet work of reconfiguration. It's not personal in the sense of moral failure, it's evolutionary. If your presence is lighting a different pathway, the world responds accordingly. Your task is to observe and steward yourself, not to fix everyone or demand explanations. If you do need to initiate a hard conversation during this time, aim for clarity, brevity, and compassion. State what you notice in neutral terms, name your needs, and invite a response without coercion. For example, I've been feeling like my priorities are shifting, and I want to be honest about where I am. This kind of language reduces performative drama and increases the likelihood of a real dialogue. I want to return to the idea of receptivity versus forced action, because it's a central distinction for this snowful moon. This phase rewards gentle recalibration, not aggressive pushing. You may feel a desire to speed things up, to clarify everything immediately, or to extract commitments from people who seem distant. Resist that impulse. Pressing tends to create resistance. Remaining receptive creates alignment. If you stay steady and present, the right doors will open at the right times. That doesn't mean nothing will change without effort. It means the most effective effort now is directed inward. More alignment, clearer values, better boundaries, and a quieter attention to what truly matters. Let me give you an example of what receptivity looks like in practice. Imagine you notice that a close friend is pulling back. Instead of demanding explanations or offering ultimatums, you might say, "I've noticed some distance lately. I value you and I want to know how you're doing. If you need space, I respect that and I'm here when you're ready." This preserves your dignity and keeps the path for reconnection open without forcing a decision. It also signals a mature stance. You are present, but not dependent on their timeline. There are people who will be drawn to your brightness as if they're watching the end of a play, not with malice, but with a kind of reverent attention. They might behave like witnesses, attentive, sometimes tearful, sometimes silent. Others will react with petty impulses or small resentments because change always triggers complexity. The key is to develop an emotional thermometer that tells you when attention is nourishing and when it's draining. If attention consistently drains you, step back. If attention inspires or clarifies, choose presence. A few more practical tools to anchor you over the next week. Carry a physical talisman if it helps you focus. It can be anything small and meaningful, a smooth stone, a ring, or a small notebook. Use it as a tactile anchor. When attention spikes, touch the talisman and breathe. Practice a quick grounding phrase you can repeat mentally, such as, "I am present, I am breathing, I return to my center." Keep it simple and repeatable. If you want to do a visualization, keep it symbolic. Imagine a soft light around your chest that hums quietly and acts as a filter, allowing warmth to enter and deflecting unnecessary noise. Nothing here is a magical promise. It's a tool to help you regulate your nervous system. Also, tend to your physical needs. This phase will feel more intense if you are sleep-deprived, hungry, or overstimulated by screens. Small, honest acts of self-care, a warm meal, a hot shower, an early night, will multiply your ability to stay present. Community helps too. Spend time with people who reflect your steadiness. Even one person who sees and accepts the version of you that's coming online can be a solace. Before I close, I want to address a question that might be floating at the back of your mind. Can you intentionally influence how people see you during this time? The short answer is yes. In the same way, you can always shape your presence through posture, voice, and consistency. But this is not about controlling others. It's about choosing how you show up, consciously aligning your posture, speaking with clarity, and maintaining calmness will naturally draw people to you in healthier ways. Yet the more you use these skills to perform for attention, the more brittle that attention becomes. The most magnetic state is authenticity plus calm. That combination draws sustained recognition, not fleeting reaction. As this snowful moon peak arrives, keep this perspective. The heightened visibility is a mirror, not a verdict. It shows you where you are luminous and where you need boundaries. It shows you who cherishes that light and who cannot be near it right now. Let it inform your choices. Use the days around February 1 to notice rather than to fix, to refine rather than to push, and to center rather than to scatter. You're not being singled out. The field itself is shifting. You are one of many who will become more noticeable. Some of the attention will be curious, some admiring, some uncomfortable, and some will be a kind of quiet goodbye. All of it is data. Collect it compassionately, process it gently, and use it to refine the edge of who you are. Over time, these moments create a clearer sense of where you belong and where your gifts matter most. To summarize, the February 1st snow full moon is acting as an amplifier, especially in its pre-full moon build-up. Psychologically, people scan for stability during tense collective moments and unconsciously fix on whoever appears steady. Spiritually, your presence can feel brighter and more visible. That brightness makes you a reference point, which is powerful and can also leave you more open to absorbing others' emotions. The wisest move is to pull energy inward enough to protect your center, Set small, compassionate boundaries and allow recalibration to do its subtle work rather than insisting on immediate results. If this message is landing with you, I want to hear about your experience. Share a short moment in the comments. Where did you feel more noticed and how did it affect you? And if you want guidance during the full moon night, save this video and come back on February Fun. If you'd like more practical content about moon phases and staying steady in amplified times, subscribe and check the playlist linked below for deeper conversations and simple practices. Take care of your nervous system, honor your limits, and remember, this brightness is part of a turning. Let it do what it needs to do while you keep breathing and choosing.